felt that all the focus was on my ex. I really did. It was like I, as the man, had to be the strong one and that I didn't need support. But I'm telling you, back then, when I was going through my divorce, I was struggling big time, right? I really wanted to raise my son. I wanted him to live with me. I didn't want to be a weekend dad, but at the same time, I didn't want to pull him out of the bosom of his mother. I'll always remember the moment that I became alcohol-free as fuck because it resulted in me ending up back in my childhood bedroom at the age of 35. Same carpet, same curtains, same sense of being trapped. My marriage was over. My wife had left me. My son no longer lived with me anymore. And I remember lying in bed, staring at my laptop screen, and the family that I had lost were glowing on my screensaver, and I just broke down. I remember the ring on my finger, and I didn't know what the hell to do with it. I wasn't hungover, I wasn't drunk, but I was completely below the line. And if you've ever felt like you're stuck in a life that used to be yours, if the silence in your home is louder than your pain, then this episode today is for you, because there is a line, and what side you're living on might explain everything. Today, we're going to talk about that. Hello, everybody. My name is Davy. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who lives a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck, and I spend every waking moment of that life helping other people do the same, like right now. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I am in Cardiff in the UK right now. It is absolutely pissing down outside. But life is great and life is grand. And later today, I am going to meet my little boy, my 24-year-old little boy. Going to play some pool together and have some dad-son time, okay? And, you know, it's interesting that I mentioned my little boy because that is kind of part of the conversation we're going to talk about today, divorced dads. In my coaching practice here at Strive, I actually coach a lot of divorced dads. And one thing that I hear them say quite a lot is, I feel like I'm failing and nobody gets it. Nobody gets me. Now that feeling of failure is what I call below the line. What does that mean? Well, there is a framework, a principle that we use in the Strive method, which is really important to me and all of our strivers, and it's called the line. I first heard it from a wonderful coach called Andreas Valencia when I was doing my Elementum Coaching Institute training and my Master Life Coach training. And it comes from the Conscious Leadership Group. You can Google them, Conscious Leadership Group, find them. Brilliant resources. And they have a wonderful book, which you would have heard me talk about on this podcast a lot, called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And there are a lot of those 15 commitments that we have woven into the Strive method to help you to become alcohol-free as fuck and to live a self-led life. And these principles are really important. So this principle of the line, what is it? Well, imagine you have a horizontal line cutting through your life, right? When you're above the line, you're in self-energy. When you're below the line, you're in parts, okay? When you're above the line, this is where you have access to the 8 C's of self. This is where you are calm. You're curious about life. You're curious about people. You're curious about your own internal family system. You have clarity. You have compassion for yourself and others. You have courage to feel the fear and do it anyway. You have this creative explosion ready to kind of like burst out of you. You have a confidence about you and you have a connectedness with yourself, with other people, and with the universe, right? When you are above the line, when you're in self-energy, you respond. You don't react. You lead. You do not leak, okay? So that's when you're above the line. When you're below the line, this is when you're in victim consciousness. This is when you are likely to lash out at people. This is when you're likely to shut down. This is when you're blaming the ex. You're yelling at the kids. You're ghosting your friends. You're drinking. You're scrolling. You're sulking. You are not thinking. You are just surviving, right? And for me, the worst part of my divorce all those years ago, over 15 years ago now, it wasn't the pain. It was the invisibility. Because at that time, I really felt that all the focus was on my ex. I really did. It was like I, as the man, had to be the strong one and that I didn't need support. But I'm telling you, back then, when I was going through my divorce, I was struggling big time, right? I really, really, really wanted to raise my son. I wanted him to live with me. I didn't want to be a weekend dad, but at the same time, I didn't want to pull him out of the bosom of his mother. Like I honestly believe that there's this different bond between mothers and their children than dads and their children. And I couldn't fight for custody of him. I felt that the natural place to be was with his mum, whilst at the same time, I really, really wanted him. You know what I mean? I didn't want to negotiate love on a timetable. I didn't want to rent him out like he was some VHS video film. You know what I mean? And every decision I was making back then was hurting somebody else. You know, it's like if I made a decision with my new girlfriend at the time, it would upset my ex. If I made a decision that would appease my ex, it would upset my girlfriend. If I made a decision that pleased my girlfriend, it was upset my son, right? Like I just couldn't get anything right. I was out of control. I felt powerless. I felt broken, and I felt forgotten. And when I see men in stride today, especially divorced fathers, they're not drinking because they're thirsty or they like the taste or anything like that. They're drinking actually because the silence I'm describing, the stuff you have to deal with alone, is unbearable, right? And they don't know they're below the line. And because of this, they don't realize that they have a choice. And it's people like this that I really, really, really want to help. That's how it works, right? You go through some shit, you experience it, and you're like, oh my God, I want to help other people go through this. Right, we're going to take a short break. But before I do, ask yourself this. Right now, in this moment, are you above the line? Are you below the line? And what would it take to climb upwards above that line? Think about that and we'll have a little break. I'm going to have a little cup of tea. Welcome back to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. I have my Earl Grey here right next to me. And before the break, we were talking about the concept of the line and how easily you can slip below it when life starts falling apart, okay? And at Strive, we don't just name the line, we train for it. What does that mean? We teach a principle called line awareness. Super powerful, super important, right? And I teach all of my clients this, right? It is the ability to notice moment by moment whether or not you're in self or part. Absolutely crucial work, right? And it isn't just mindset work, it's survival work. Because when you're below the line during things like a divorce, you end up parenting from your parts. You co-parent from parts. You date other people from parts. You're running your business and giving orders to your employees from parts, right? You're reactive when your ex texts you. You're needy with your kids. You're defensive at work. And the people who love you in that moment, they feel the ripple effect, right? But when you can pause and when you can check in and you can say to yourself, oh my God, I'm below the line. And you can communicate to those parts of you that are coming to your aid, that are acting dysfunctionally in order to keep yourself and you keep you safe. And you can have that conversation with them from self. That moment changes everything. That moment is absolute power, man. And Strive gives you the community, the tools, and the accountability to practice that power every single day. We are your tribe, the one that doesn't shame you for being below the line. It's the one that teaches you to rise above it. Today's daily vow. Today, I will not drink because I refuse to numb my way through victim consciousness. If I'm below the line, I'll name it. I'll own it. I will not hide from it. I choose presence over pity, and I rise from parts and return to myself. And that is how I lead my life, one conscious moment at a time. As you go about your day today, some of you in the rain, some of you in the sunshine, take a moment to reflect these few points of view or questions or whatever you want to call them. What does below the line feel like in your body? What patterns show up for you when you're below the line? And what do you think you can do to get from below the line to above the line in self-energy? Reach out to me at thestrivemethod@gmail.com. Gmail.com, yeah, if you want to talk to me about it, or find me on social media at LeeDavyCoaching. That's all I have time for today, ladies and gentlemen. I will be back again tomorrow for another episode of the 1000 Days Sober podcast. And we have some guests coming up. Boop, 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 boop. Wonderful. Tomorrow, actually, so tomorrow is Friday, the 6th of June for me right now. I will be interviewing John Bell. John Bell is a striver, and John will be talking about his life, how he found strive, how he became alcohol free as fuck, and is living a self led life. So we'll be talking to John, and I'm talking to a few people on Instagram at the moment to get some more guests. So we'll try to get one a week. I won't promise it, but we'll try to get one a week. The daily podcast will continue, except for one day a week, we'll have a guest for like an hour. Okay. If this episode stirred something in you for a reason, don't let that pass. Please rate and review the podcast so more strivers can find it. Subscribe to hear tomorrow's episode. And if you are ready to stop living below the line in isolation, join the waiting list for the Strive Method. Okay. Go to www.thestrivemethod.com and join that waiting list. And I've just revised the Liquid Lie ebook. I've changed it. Okay. If you want a copy of that, don't go to the website yet because I haven't changed the website, but email me at thestrivemethod@gmail.com and I'll give you an updated version of our ebook, The Liquid Light. You'll really love it. Until tomorrow, much love and strive on. And remember today, when your little demons inside your brain start to encourage you to drink alcohol, remember that in that moment, you are below the line. Have that little chat with the part that's below the line and then figure out how you can get above the line. You've got this. I've got you. I know you can do it. So do you. Much love. Strive on. Take care. See you tomorrow.